the beginning there was clay, not divine clay, but the resources of the planet, a native species, used as a template, clay of the earth itself. The Bible tells us God shaped Adam from dust. What if that dust was DNA? What if it was the building blocks of flesh mixed by the hands, not of this earth, but alien hands? 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians described their gods, the Anunnaki. Coming down from the heavens, they were powerful, radiant, immortal, and they spoke of how the Anunnaki shaped mankind. Not in a garden, but in a lab. The god Enki, with the goddess Nihursa, took the essence of the Anunnaki and mixed it with the blood of the creatures already walking the earth. The result was us, a hybrid, part animal, part divine, created not to worship, but to work. The Sumerian tablets call it the first experiment, to create labor hands to mine gold from the earth. The Bible simply calls it Adam. But Adam was not alone. Before Eve, there was Lilith. She is almost forgotten, erased from the Bible, remembered only in fragments of ancient lore. Lilith refused to submit to Adam. She demanded equality, and for this, she was cast out. But what if there is another layer to this story? What if Lilith was the first prototype? An early hybrid of Anunnaki and human, too independent, too powerful. She would not obey her creators. In later myth, Lilith becomes the mother of demons, her offsprings twisted and cursed. But in this telling, those demons are failed genetic lines, unstable mutations that the Anunnaki destroyed. Eve was the second attempt, designed to be softer, more obedient, more controllable, and humanity continued. But the experiment didn't go as planned. Generation after generation, the human bloodline carried too much of the Anunnaki essence. Some hybrids were giants, strong, long-lived, with powers the gods themselves feared. In the book of Genesis, we know them as the Nephilims. In the book of Enoch, they are the offsprings of angels and women. In both stories, they are destroyed. The gods fear rebellion. Humanity, once slaves, had grown too close to gods. Too much Anunnaki blood made us dangerous. And so the decision was made. The earth would be cleansed. The flood was not divine punishment. It was population control. It was a reset, a purge, the first human generation, the powerful hybrids. In summer, a man named Sisudra was warned by the god Enki. In the Bible, his name is Noah. He built a vessel, carried animals, and preserved life, not by divine grace, but because one faction of the Anunnaki wished that humanity survive. The Anunnaki sent the flood, destroying it all. The world was drowned. The first experiment ended. But from the survivors, a second humanity arose. This one was weaker, shorter-lived, and more easily ruled. But humanity remembered their greatness. We tried to reach the skies. In Genesis, mankind builds a tower, the Tower of Babel, to touch the heavens, to reclaim what was lost, to meet the gods face to face. The story tells us God punished their arrogance by scattering their tongues. But in the Anunnaki version, this was no punishment, it was strategy. The Anunnaki understood a united humanity could not be controlled, so they shattered us with language. One tongue became many, one people became tribes, divided, mistrustful, unable to rise together. The tower was never finished, and humanity remained under control. And it's not the only account of these events. The book of Enoch describes them as the Watchers. shining beings who descended to earth. They taught men the secrets of metal, of weapons, of enchantments, and they lay with the daughters of men. The offsprings were giants, the Nephilims, corrupted hybrids, feared by both men and gods. The Watchers were destroyed, their children slaughtered, a failed experiment erased by the gods. But Enoch's words remain. I saw the Watchers, tall as mountains, radiant as fire, their faces like lightning. Angels or Anunnaki scientists? The line blurs. We have the best description of the Anunnakis from Ezekiel, a prophet who saw the glory of God descend from the sky. A whirlwind came from the north, a great cloud with fire unfolding. Inside were living creatures, shining like brass, moving as lightning. Beside them were wheels within wheels, full of eyes, and the spirit of the creature was in the wheels, and the wheels rose from the earth. What did Ezekiel see? The Bible says it was the glory of the Lord, but his description looks exactly like a craft. Was it God, or was it an Anunnaki ship? The Old Testament is filled with visitations, visions, voices from the sky, an active God that commands, that has a physical presence, described as a column of cloud by day, a column of fire at night, another ship. Sometimes they call them angels, sometimes they call them God. They were always the same beings, the ones who shape us, the ones who watch us, the ones who destroy, rebuild, and guided. And when the age of the prophets ended, they did not leave. They needed humankind to grow in numbers for the second act. They appear again in a new form, in the New Testament. And with them came the birth of a child who would change the world forever. In the old world, the first hybrids didn't die easily. They survived the flood in whispers, in secret rites, and mountain temples. Men remember them as gods, as titans. Across the desert and jungles, the old cults persisted, altars smoking to Baal, to Moloch, to Dagon, to Asherah, to nameless powers carved in stone. Every kingdom had a patron, every tribe a god that demanded loyalty. Humanity was divided, not just by language, but by worship. And for the Anunnaki, it was a problem left unsolved, too many variables to control. The first experiment had been purged by water, but the memory of the old gods refused to die. So a new plan was made. Not a flood, but a single messenger, a hybrid, born under one banner, one name, Yahweh, the true God. He would not rule by sword. He would override the older gods with a story stronger than steel. He would erase the Nephilims from the minds of humanity. This was the mission. This was the program. This was Jesus. In Nazareth, the messenger arrived, not with thunder, but with humbleness, not with a sword, but with compassion for all. Mary would not be chosen for royal blood. She would be chosen because the story required a beginning that no temple could own, a virgin birth, a sign that nothing of the old cults remained in him. The procedure was simple for them and impossible for us, artificial insemination. The child would be her son human in the flesh, that carried with him the spark of the Anunnaki, not a demagogue, a design, a key that fit every lock they had left on earth. His life moved in patterns, born among animals because he came to end sacrifice, raised in obscurity because he came to shed light and end dynasties. When he spoke, kingdoms listened, but his war was invisible. He did not topple idols with soldiers, he broke them with words. You cannot serve two masters, he said, one God, one name, one story to replace 1,000 old thrones. The Nephilims had survived in other dimensions, holding to Earth for a comeback, conspiring with the fallen demons of Lilith that gave them refuge, the pagan temples that are linked to Earth. Jesus carried out exorcisms not as an act of mercy, but as a message that he was coming for them, even in hell, as humans call their realm. It was a purge. "What is your name?" asked Legion. Names mattered, because names tied spirit to altars and altars to gods. He took their names away. He emptied the temples. People called it the deliverance. In truth, it was a deletion. Miracles were made with technology worn like parables. He healed the blind and the broken, not to prove divinity, but to erase the power of the old gods. No more priestly fees for cures, no more bribes for blessings, no more children burned for harvests. The kingdom of men had been cut from the fallen. Energy answered him like a servant. Water shifted, matter obeyed. To villagers they were miracles. For the Anunnaki, it was the plan unfolding. In the wilderness, he was offered pleasure, wealth, and paradise. "All these kingdoms I will give you if you bow." Who made the offer? Not an honor myth, but the remnant of the first regime. A voice of the old Anunnaki order, the Nephilims, the fallen ones, promising power only if he allowed them to live. He refused. The purge would be complete, or it would fail. No compromise. "You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only. One name, or none." He would die at the hands of humans, because it was the entrance to hell, to the other realms. He was ending the fallen, conquering them, and then he would come back to the kingdom of men. The stone moved, the body breathed, then vanished like smoke in sunlight. To his friends it was glory. To his makers it was the proof the program had been fulfilled. Resurrection was not a trick, it was a seal. The message could not be killed, the purge could not be stopped, and a promise of his return to rule mankind was made. A conquest to be carried out with no wars, but a surrender of the soul. This the Anunnaki did out of necessity, to avoid a bloodshed with the Nephilims, who become their equals in strength. But the Anunnaki were not done. The world would modernize, language would reunite through wires and screens. A new plan would appear to gather humanity under the sky of light, to control them easily. They would call it Revelation, the Second Coming. Others would call it Project Bluebeam. But the old name is older than both, the Return of the Gods. The Anunnaki never left, they only stepped back. The temples crumbled, the prophets fell silent, but their eyes remained on us. For centuries, watchers in the sky kept their vigil. In 1954, newspapers claimed the U.S. Air Force had detected an unknown object orbiting Earth, an object that shouldn't have been there. It became known as the Black Knight satellite. To scientists, it was nothing but debris, but to those who looked closer, its orbit told another story. Polar long-lasting orbit watching everything. If the Anunnaki wished to monitor their experiment from the shadows, they would need something in our skies, and that something was the Black Knight. It is not a machine of ours, it is theirs, a relic to record, to transmit, to watch as humanity rebuilds itself. And then there is Mars. On its moon Phobos, photographs reveal a strange monolith, a tower rising from the barren rock. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin himself admitted it. We should visit the monolith on Phobos. The universe put it there, or if not, who did? But the Russians tried. In 1988, their probe Phobos 2 approached the moon, and then it vanished. Just before transmissions were cut off, an image appeared, a shadow, a shape, as if something had struck the probe. Some say the Anunnaki guard Phobos, that the obelisk is not a ruin but a beacon, and no human ship will approach it without consequence. Our own moon holds secrets as well. Astronauts describe lights on the dark side, structures where there should be none. Whispers tells of a base once active, now abandoned, relocated, deeper into the shadows. For if the Anunnaki built a station in our skies, the moon would be the closest outpost, a stepping stone between Nibiru and Earth, and maybe still in use. Why they let us grow? Some ask, if the Anunnaki rule, why do they hide? Why let billions of humans cover the Earth? The answer is numbers. They need us in scale. They need workers, soldiers, minds, bodies. The first purge destroyed too much potential. This time, they let the garden grow wild. Because when they return, they will harvest. And what of prophecy? The Bible promised a return with clouds of fire and voices in the heavens. Today, governments whisper of a project called Bluebeam, a staged second coming, a false alien invasion. But what if it will not be false? What if the governments of the world already know the Anunnaki are coming back? And Bluebeam is only the cover story. One day, the skies will open, the gods will descend on clouds of light, and we will kneel. Not to Yahweh, not to Jesus, not to angels, but to the same beings who made us, who ruled us, who purged us, the Anunnaki.